Storm World: Hurricanes, Politics, and the Battle Over Global Warming by Chris Mooney. Narrated by Lloyd James. Copyright 2007 by Chris Mooney. This unabridged audiobook is published by arrangement with Harcourt Incorporated and was produced in the year 2007 by Tantor Media Incorporated, which holds the copyright thereto. Meteorology has ever been an apple of contention, as if the violent commotions of the atmosphere induced a sympathetic effect on the minds of those who have attempted to study them. Smithsonian Secretary Joseph Henry, U.S. Patent Office, Annual Report, Agriculture, 1858. Prologue. 6229 Memphis Street. On the day after Christmas 2005, 4 months after Hurricane Katrina swamped it with polluted water, the neighborhood of Lakeview, New Orleans, showed only the faintest signs of life. Piles of debris sat on each curbside. Loose dogs roamed the streets, and the vegetation everywhere was dead. The houses remained almost entirely uninhabited. Some were now hollow shells, gutted by work crews. Others still sported interiors that looked as though they had been ransacked by the creature from the Black Lagoon. Collapsed floors, stinking refrigerators, disintegrating piles of paper, and huge tapestries of mold on the walls. My mother's house was one of these. A tree had crashed across the backyard, knocking down a flimsy fence. A sewing machine protruded from beneath a pile of boards. On the side of the house, rescue crews had painted a red mark. Beneath it had lain the carcass of mules, a feral cat my mother had been feeding. Inside, a clock still ticked, and the smoke alarm let out occasional bleeps. The floors were spongy, especially in the hallway, which had become a graveyard of congealing paper after a bookcase collapsed. Everything was caked with mud and grime. Substantially damaged is how the city bureaucrats, with their knack for understatement, described it. Yet despite countless scenes like this, many residents of Lakeview had vowed to return and rebuild their neighborhood. They had grown up in this safe, conservative Catholic community and couldn't imagine living anywhere else. Outside one battered church, a sign read, "Behold, I am making all things new." And that's just what these New Orleanians plan to do. "Re-New Orleans," reads the popular T-shirt in town, capturing a passionate sense of devotion to the city and its restoration. That devotion came across journalistically on Christmas Day 2005. The day before my mother, sister, and I ventured into Lakeview to see the destruction firsthand, when the local Times-Picayune ran a front-page feature article entitled, "What Will New Orleans Look Like 5 Years From Now?" Starry-eyed plans for light rail, raised houses, and new green spaces were described. But my eyes lingered on a sentence dropped in toward the end. Surrounding it all is a dependable Category 3 levee system. That hardly sounded like planning for the worst-case scenario. Katrina was a mid-range Category 3 storm on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale, with maximum sustained winds estimated at about 120 miles per hour when it made its final landfall near the Louisiana-Mississippi border. Winds experienced in New Orleans weren't even at Category 3 strength, since the storm didn't hit the city directly. It missed. Knowing this, I worried in late 2005 that those charged with rebuilding New Orleans might be paying inadequate attention to the possibility of an even worse hurricane disaster at some point in the future. Not only could a stronger storm come in any season, considerable, if hotly disputed, evidence suggests we may be entering a world in which, thanks to human-induced global warming, the average hurricane itself becomes more powerful and deadly. The threat to New Orleans, and to other vulnerable coastal cities like Miami, Tampa Bay, Houston, Charleston, Providence, New York, and even possibly San Diego, could be steadily rising, along with the sea levels that further amplify hurricane risks. Out of that sense of concern, which grew more seasoned and nuanced as I traveled to scientific conferences and learned more about hurricanes, arose this book. You might think of it as a homegrown New Orleans science writer's idiosyncratic way of coping. Certainly it is no polemic, no work of alarmism. At least as I write these words in late 2006.